So, a couple of months ago, I made a video regarding a home invasion type thing, and that was for a competition done by the Lassie Tech and the CollectiveHq, I think it is, uh, in collaboration with Film Riot, and they were giving away some prizes. And they seem to have these competitions quite often. Their next competition was making a music video. I didn't enter that because I just didn't think I had the skills for that, and I wasn't really that interested in that one. And plus, I was a bit busy. Now they've created a new one. I've just noticed, and it's to make a behind. It's called Behind the Door Challenge. It's a scary behind the door challenge, and I've made the video, and that video will be linked at the end of this video, and you can see it on my channel. It will also be the video that I will put on YouTube will be a 1.5 minute video. However, they want a 60-second video because the submissions are via Instagram, so there will be a slightly shorter version of it available on Instagram, and my handle on Instagram is freewayfrolic, so I encourage you to go check that out, like it, and share it. This purpose of this video is just to show you some of the behind the scenes stuff I did to get that video made, to get that little short made. So without further ado, here goes.
So here's the Lassie entry pack, and as you can see, they want something scary or something to build up tension, but the end reveal doesn't really have to be scary. That was something I was worried about because I think I know how to build up the tension, but I really didn't have an idea to make how to make it scary, especially since I'm basically doing this by myself. Looking at the judging criteria, it's saying the scene needs to build, increasing tension. I think I can do that. Cinematography, so remember it's 4 AM, lighting and visual structure should reflect that, and that's why I'm going to be using the 50mm f1.7 because I think that will be better for the lighting. I had a quick play around and I think that looks really decent enough considering what I've got available to me. Performance, well, I'll be doing the performance, so hopefully my acting's good enough. And then it's got editing and post, so visual effects or animations are optional. I'm not going to do any of that. I'd like this for me personally just to be an editing exercise and see if I can build the tension using editing. And we'll see how it goes. Now, the story I'm thinking of doing is basically, because it's talking about scariness, as a parent, one of the things you're always scared about is your kid, and you always hear these things in the news about kids being abducted. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll do one where I maybe block it out that he goes to sleep in his room and I put him to bed. And then I come back here, I hear a noise, at which point I whip pan and I realise down there somewhere there's something scary going on. And I'm using it as an excuse to practice something I haven't done for many years. As many people who view my YouTube channel can see, I haven't actually uploaded or even made anything in the last 7 to 8 years. And that was because of family life and career, everything gone in the way. But I'm kind of looking back to get into stuff. However, the downside of that is because I haven't really done anything in the last 8 years, all of my kit is really old. So what you're looking at here is the Panasonic Lumix G2, which when I bought it, I think was about a year or 2 years old. Now it's nearly a decade old, in fact, over a decade old. It doesn't even do 1080p. At the time, I was always looking for cheap lenses for it, so I bought a few CCTV lenses. This is a 25mm CCTV lens. My missus had a Nex 3, again, about 10 years old, and this is the lens for it. And on the actual Nex 3, I bought one of my other CCTV lenses, which is a 50mm lens. That's what I've been playing around with, and that's what I'm thinking of using for this particular competition. Let's see, I'm doing a competition on scary, what's behind the door type thing. And this one's an f1.7, whereas this stock lens that you get from Nex is a f3.5. And because I want to do something in darkness, the f1.7 will help me with that and give me a bit more light. I am looking to upgrade all of this. However, I think that's a bit way off. As I said, I've not really used any of this stuff for a good at least 5-6 years minimum. And so there's no point in me upgrading it unless I really start reusing it now, because otherwise it'll just be a waste of money. So I want to do a couple of little skits with these, and then once I can actually show that I'm definitely using these on a regular basis, I could probably justify upgrading them. So for the final shot, I've been wondering about what to make. whether it should be scary or how it should be, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So then I was thinking maybe have myself appear in some scary mask or something like that. So I went down to the pound shop and I found some fake blood and the mask. This cost me £1. I even got a toy scythe. But then at the last moment, I even found this hand. Again, these are bare cheap. These are really cheap things, and I think from far away, these will actually look pretty decent. Then I thought, why not have some crazy, crazy teddy bear? So we're going to butcher this teddy bear up to make him look a little bit more scary and then use him in the final shot. So as you can see, what I've done is I've literally just incised up the side and put this knife in. So I'm thinking, put a bit of blood spatter on top of the teddy and a bit on the blood, and that will actually make a decent shot, and maybe just do a punch in as my final thing. And then if I get some good sound mix with it, I think it'd actually have quite a nice impact. So here's going to be the first shot. So as you can see, I'm using the lamp as a stand-in for where I'm supposed to be, and then using that to ascertain the exposure on the camera. So that way later on, when I click record, I know, the manual focus. So that way I know later on I should be fine in terms of focusing. Mic being hidden, so you shouldn't be able to see. However, hopefully it will pick up decent audio. Just making sure I have the slider level using my 2 tripods. So the 2 tripods were quite cheap. This one here I actually got from a place called Curry's, which is a mainstream electrical retailer in the UK, but I got it on clearance, so I think it cost me like £9 at the time. This one was £20 from the same place. Now I looked online at Amazon and it was actually the same price whether I bought it off Amazon or from Curry's. In fact, this was about £1 cheaper, and the fact that I could get it straight away was the bonus. That's why I got this. The slider is from Amazon and it was a flash sale. It was an 80cm slider that went for £30, free 1-day shipping with Amazon Prime. So I thought that was quite a good deal. So that's where I got that slider from.
So here we are now. We've done all our filming and we're in HitFilm Express. Now what I did is I brought in all my stuff, and before I brought it in, most of it I tried to name it prior to bringing it in. So if we go to our source files, as you can see, most of the stuff I tried to name it. That way when I was actually in HitFilm, I knew what I was looking at. For example, this was the shot with the teddy in there. This was the medium shot of the door where I'm zooming in on the door. That way it was just much more easier for me to define what I'm doing in terms of the timeline. Otherwise, sometimes, as any of you who've ever used or worked with these clips from cameras, they're just a sequence of numbers, and it gets quite confusing as to what's actually what. So for the video itself, as you can see, I had a few setup shots. So I had kid setup, main bedroom. So what I'm doing here is putting my kid to sleep. Then I'm in the main bedroom on my phone, on my laptop, and that's when I hear a creepy sound. So then I go back to check on the kid, and this is when I hear it again. And now, as you can see, there's 2 cuts. So actually, I've only used 2 video tracks here. I could probably have done it on 1 video track and just the cuts, but I think this just makes it easier. And in these, if we come here, so on the bottom video track is me looking at the door, and the top ones is the door, and basically these are just slider shots of me sliding into the door. And as you can see, they get slightly shorter and shorter and shorter each little bit. The point of this was my attempt to increase the tension, so that with the sound helps increase the tension. Keeping it, for example, have this for 2 seconds and this for 2 seconds and then this is 5 seconds, actually defuses the tension somewhat. But having that for, let's say, 3 seconds, and that's for 2 seconds, and that's for 1 second, and just going down and down and down, helps increase the tension that you start getting. And you can see that very perfectly with these, with the shots of me. The shots of the door are slightly increasing in terms of length, and the shots of me are decreasing, and that's to help build the tension until you get to the final shot, which is basically this bloody teddy, which we So earlier on in this tutorial, well, this behind the scenes thing where I basically put this knife in it and then I just used some fake blood that I bought from a pound shop and just sprayed it on top of that to make it look a little bit more scarier. As far as the sound's concerned, we had stuff that I did myself, and you can actually film stuff really easily yourself. I got a creak sound. Now I was actually going to basically record a creak from one of my own doors. However, I just found a place online that did it, and it was free. It was royalty free. One thing note that I say to people that I recommend is that when you're going to be uploading this stuff, you need to say that you use what the licensing is, and you have to have some details about the licensing. But in the process, when you're doing this stuff, you just find stuff, grab it, and just download it, and you're doing it because you're in the creative mode. So you're not always thinking about these things. So what I did is I bookmarked those pages that I got my sounds from. So I got this thing called Suspense. Now this is from, I think, Keziland Studios, and this guy gives it out free if you're using it for a non-commercial pro, and you don't have to license. If you're using it on YouTube, your videos will get copyright claimed, not copyright strikes, and all the money will go to him unless you pay him via PayPal something. He hasn't put what it is, but he's just said just donate him something, send him an email with the link to your video, and he'll make sure that you don't get a copyright claim on there. To be honest, I don't make any money off YouTube anyway, so I'm not that bothered, but I will give him some money just because, it's good. This guy's making music for people, and we should help each other out in that respect. I had a creaky door effect, and I had a thud effect, I think, a bang effect, and a laugh effect, a creepy laugh effect, and a scream effect, and they were from 2 other websites. And again, I've got them bookmarked, and so later on I'm just going to go and download the licenses so that when I do upload it onto YouTube, I'll be able to put that stuff in the description, just in case everyone asks, are you licensed to use it? As I said, you can make a lot of this stuff yourself. So the suspense music that I had, I couldn't. Thing is, I'm not great at music, I'll be honest with you. Stuff like Foley, so a creaking door, a bang, a thud, is very easy to make. It's literally just going out and doing it. That's the hardest bit, is actually just getting up and being bothered to do it. But obviously stuff like making a suspenseful soundtrack that increases the tempo and stuff, you can do it, but also everything's down a little bit down to your artistic ability. And from a music perspective, I'm pretty much tone deaf. Like, I could have done it, I know the technical method of doing it, I even know the freeware stuff that you need to do it. I have done it in the past, but I think from a actual artistic point of view, it had probably sounded a bit naff. So I decided to use something that someone else had used, had created, because they're just much better at it than me. I hope this gives a kind of an overview of how I edited it. One thing I recommend to people is, people think that the first time you edit should be the best time. I think this is the 3rd or the 4th iteration of this edit. So if we go back into this file here, behind the door, you can actually see I've got behind the door and behind the door 1. I actually copied it, and then this behind the door 1 is the file that you're seeing now, and that's the final file. But so as you can see, I had an original edit, and before that I actually had a test edit before that I actually did in Blender. So technically this is my 3rd edit file, and this one I probably tweaked about with it for quite a bit. What I did find is sometimes what you're looking at, the pacing is a bit off, and you want to just tweak it. And often just taking a couple of frames off either side helps speed up your pacing. So in this case, it was all about creating that suspense. And sometimes I'd flip from one, like the video of me looking, to the video of the door, and there's no movement, and it'd just be like, what's going on? So I'd take off a couple of frames, and then actually it was, rather than being at the start of the movement, which is a bit jerky starting into the movement, it's in mid movement, and that gave it a bit more flow and made it seem a lot better. The other thing is to do with sound effects. So originally I was not going to have a creaking door sound effect. What I ended up doing though was I tried it out, and then what I did is I actually tried it out where every time you saw the door, you'd see the creaking door sound effect. And I actually rendered this entire thing out. I showed it to a few people, but something wasn't right. Something wasn't hitting it. And then, but however, my original edit that I did in Blender did work, and that didn't have the creaky door sound effect. All it had was this suspenseful music. So I went back to the drawing board and I actually deleted those sound effects, and I felt that actually they were the things that were just detracting from the suspense build-up. The music is building up the suspense, the video is building up the suspense, but then this random creaky door thing would just kind of like take you out of it. So I only put it at the start, and then I just put it at the end because it goes black, and then you hear it again as like a nod to it. So I wasn't really sure how to end the actual bit. So you see the bloody teddy, and it just goes to black, and you hear the creaking door, and that's to hark back to the original. So to make it a little bit more creepy, that's why I did that. But this is also a good example of how just because you did it initially doesn't mean that's how it has to be done. You can always go back, change it, try new things, try different things, and see how you like it. So if we go back to, if we can pull this up, the original Behind the Door. Shall we see if we can open recent? So here you can see what I was on about in terms of there were many more of these creaks and bangs that I was doing. But as I said, after testing them, they just didn't work. They just didn't work. Furthermore, this was actually on the Teddy. There was more of a dolly into the Teddy, and then there was actually just a fade out over over a second, which also didn't look. I didn't think it looked as good. There was a bit of a scream and a howl, but the scream and the howl, again, I changed it in the last one. I brought them a bit forward to be in line with when you first see the teddy, and then have a creak afterwards, because the creak was what started it off. So it's kind of like coming full circle. And obviously I've got rid of all of these ones in the middle, leaving only the first two creaks: the creak that I hear when I'm in the bedroom, the creak when I hear when I've just come out of the bedroom double checking on the kids room, and then obviously the creak right at the end when I discover this crazy ass teddy. So again, this is to reiterate, your first edit will always probably be not perfect, and it will need working on. There are people who get disheartened in that. Sometimes we think, okay, we're going to edit and that's it, it's going to be done. But you just need to go back in, tweak it. If you've got friends and family, show it to them. Ask them what they think, and ask them to be honest. Sometimes you get people who you will send to them and they'll be like, yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great. And part of it is because they don't do it themselves. So they think anything is great in that respect. And the other thing is they're just being polite. But you want to actually have honest opinion. Now, in my case, the great thing about for me was because I had a test thing that I'd made in Blender, which I actually found was better, then I made basically this. And I showed it to people. I showed it to people and said, which of the two is better? And people were like, the one in Blender raises our attention a lot more than this one. There were other people who liked the visuals on this, but they preferred the tension that was in the other one. And that was what I needed to know, because I needed to know, okay, what was the difference between that and this? And one of the differences, as you can see, I was saying earlier on, so the clips get shorter and shorter, but here they don't. If you notice, the clip of the door is quite short here, but then here it's quite long. And that was also detracting from it, because 1 second you're only seeing the door, at one point you're only seeing the door for a second or 2 seconds. Next thing you know, you're seeing it for 5 seconds, and after seeing something for 5 seconds, you're kind of like, it's just a door. And that's why I went back in and I trimmed these down, I cut them in, and I actually added a few more flips between me and the door, me and the door, me and the door. And as I said, by taking these out and adding that in, making those cuts and causing that sequential increase in tempo of cuts, as it were, alongside this suspenseful music, I think it added a lot more to it. of course, by all means, the video is up on YouTube, so have a look at that. If you have any comments about this video, leave a comment below. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it to other people, especially people that you know that might be into making their own little shorts, just so they can see the process that I use, and maybe that will be able to help them. And go head on over and watch the actual completed product on my YouTube channel. There will be a link here. And after you've done that on that one, by all means, leave any comments and thoughts that you have, like it and share it with everyone that you know, and that would be very much appreciated.